Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely possible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We've got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Watmere is your champion.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel for round number 5 of the PSGL E-Series Championship Season number 6, where we head to our first ever reverse track layout in the whole of PSGL. Of course, onto the brand new F125 game, we have Austria, Silverstone and Zandvoort all available as a reversed layout, and Austria is going to be the first one that we are going to try out here in competitive league racing. Of course, to myself, it was a bit of a surprise to see a reverse track on E-Series calendar, but here we are. Connor wants to try something different, so why not try something different? And alongside myself in the commentary box, not as always, because Corey's unfortunately had to drop out this evening, it will be Omi, who I believe was here last week for my absence. Omi, welcome in, great to have you back.
Yes, hello, great to be here. And as you mentioned, quite a surprise that we are doing a reverse track. It's not really what anyone would have expected, especially at this phase of the game cycle. But if Connor wants to give it a go, then we're all here for it to see how it is going to play out today. It's going to lead to a very interesting qualifying, followed by the race.
It certainly will, and we'll have a quick look at the standings heading into this round, because they are quite close at the front. It's Ferrari who lead the way on 169 points. They're only 19 points ahead of R8G, who have had a really good start to this season. They sit in P2 on 150, and then we have in third Oracle Red Bull Racing. They're just 1 point back from R8G heading into this next round, and then we have Alpine in fourth, and then only 6 points back we have FVR in the top 5. Remember, they've been here 3 times before and have never finished above 8th, so this is perfect for the FVR team. Then Williams in P6 ahead of McLaren, who managed to get up to P7 after a very poor start to the season. They're starting to gain some more points as the rounds go on. Veloci Academy, disappointing for our last season's champions, down in 8th on 68 points. We have FRT, Future Racing Team, on their debut on 63, and rather quite a few points back in 10th. These Venturi Esports, not been the best starts of the season for those guys. They sit on just 38 points. But of course, Omi, I wasn't here last week, and you were. So we're going to have a look at the results, and you can kind of run us through what could have happened. Because if I'm honest, I've been that busy, I haven't had a chance to have a look.
Well, you missed quite a bit. It was Barry Beaumont who took his Ferrari team all the way to the top step, and as you can see, a gap of 6.2 seconds, which is not always what we're used to here in E-Series, with how close and where and how competitive this can be. But he was able to pull away in the second phase, and that was a great job by him. Zildjian getting a good solid result in second, and then it was Di Ortenzio putting it in P3 as well. Beaumont, when he spoke with us after the race, was very happy with how that race ran, and was very proud as well of his teammate who's recently come into Ferrari a few rounds ago. Stoutchilek finished in fourth. Barrett, one of the stars of the show for FVR as well. It was great to be able to watch him show his skills when it came to qualifying and then the race, really impressing us. And then it was Bowman, Linton, Ranieri, Odendorp and West. That was our top 10 when it came to the race, but in E-Series we continue to hand out the points. So it was Van Erven who finished in 11th, Hietala was in 12th, then it was Klaffenbach, Imtiaz, Beresne, Alves, Pressionator, and then we had Grosh Pointer with Campbell, Adams and Stefan Vasso. Those two drivers not having the race that they would have wanted, but some great points scored for Ferrari. I think that's the big takeaway going from last race, as they took the lead of the championship away from R8G.
Certainly, and also heading into this round, we do have a couple of drivers who are making their first appearances for this season. So we'll take a look at tonight's lineups. And Red Bull, we have the legend Everybody loves him. It's Liam Parnell. He's back in E-Series. He's alongside Ulash Azildrim, who has just been the powerhouse, the power source for Red Bull so far this season. And then we have R8G returning his Tycho Hardy alongside newly signed Will Lewis, of course, was part of the Williams team, then went to ABS and is now transitioned to the R8G esports team. Hopefully he can have a good result tonight on debut. And then LP, we have Piotr Staklek and then Tomasz Paradzic making his debut this season. Of course, has been here many times in the past, just it's his first time racing in this season. Then we have Ferrari also making his first race this season. Dylan Warren, yet again, he's been here countless times, probably one of the drivers that has driven the most in the past 5 seasons. Of course, took part in season 1 with TF10, and then season 2 through to 5 took part with Ferrari. He's alongside Riccardo Benzoni. Then we have Veloci Academy with Sergio Sobrino and Cameron Dowds. Then we have Williams with Topias Koivunen, who's also making his first start this season. He's alongside Ika Baina. And then we have VNT, Ryan Moeller, who's only just entered the championship for VNT. He got subbed in, I think, yesterday. He's alongside Simon Engel. Then we have with McLaren, Shimon Lekomsky and Jack West. FER, it's Renz Thomason and Declan Barrett. And finally, FRT, we have another new driver this season. It's Liam Stevens. Of course, normally he's part of the Aston Martin development programme, but he's been signed by FRT to do some E-Series this season. He's alongside Campbell Adams, who I believe has been here every round this season. So, Omi, not really a stacked grid heading into this one, but we have some very known names and also some new drivers to kind of see what they can do in an E-Series seat.
Yeah, it's a very exciting scenario with how it is going to play out, with all of these talented drivers getting their opportunity to show their class and do some great results for their team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to be able to get on. Not stacked, but it doesn't mean it's going to be exciting. It doesn't mean it's not going to be exciting. It's going to be full of action, and it's a curveball anyway, with a reverse track as well.
It certainly is, and we have everybody in the session. And of course, this series of PSGL E-Series is brought to you by Sim Racing Centre, SRC. Without those guys, we wouldn't be here this evening, and we wouldn't have been here for the whole championship. Of course, helping us fund out and sponsor this season. So a big thank you to the team over at SRC. And we also have a hot lap sponsored by SRC, and I'm sure you guys are all going to hear a very familiar voice. So let's hear Formula Kai as he takes us around the Red Bull Ring in reverse.
Another round of the E-Series is upon us, and another hot lap brought to you by Sim Racing Center. Into turn 1, you have to be brave. Throw the car in 5th. Try not to invalidate on exit. Smooth on the steering for turn 2. Careful for the big bump on the exit as we make our way uphill towards the start of sector 2. Try flirting with the track limits to open up this double right-hander, but don't get too bold because you will invalidate otherwise. Another long right-hander uphill, which gives us more traction. Stay to the left for less driving distance as we make our way towards turn 4 on the original layout. Tricky braking while turning at the same time, and try to get good traction in 3rd gear while the rear tries to kick away, because you're going to carry all that extra momentum down towards all turn 3. Starting to brake way before 100 meter board because you're going downhill while turning at the same time. Down to 2nd gear to aid rotation and more torque on exit. Don't let this distract you from the fact that Stroll is 6/10ths clear of P2 and is about to put it on pole into the final corner of the racetrack. Again, downhill braking, be brave, mount the inside curb, use all the track on the exit, narrowly avoiding invalidation, and up to the line. That is 1 lap around our beloved Red Bull Ring.
And there we go. Great to hear from Formula Kai as we went around the Austria Red Bull Ring in reverse. Of course, using an SRC setup, and it just proves what sort of lap times you can do when you're using an SRC setup. Of course, setups I've been using since F122. And believe me, I'm not quick, but I'm a lot quicker with those setups than I am with anything else. So, if you're new, you're experienced, it doesn't matter. Get yourself some of the SRC setups. Get straight into the action. And also, I believe Austria and Austria reversed, same for Silverstone and Zandvoort, all have a variation for the normal layout and the reverse layout. So make sure to select the right one when you're purchasing your setup. But we have cars, Omi, out on track finally here around Austria. The pit lane exit looks very odd, doesn't it indeed?
It really does. when you see the cars basically just go in the opposite direction to where our camera is usually awaiting them to come down the pit lane. It is already a weird feeling, and I'm sure it'll continue to be across this entire day of action. But Q1 is underway then. We'll of course be losing the bottom 5 drivers from this session, and we've learnt so far across this campaign that it has always been very close. So no drivers can relax at all, even if you might be in the top teams, and you just don't want to make sure you don't want to have yourself eliminated at this part of the session, because it can lead to quite a difficult race as well, coming up with how the dirty air is.
Well, Omi, everybody has gone out, Bartu, quite quickly. I've been informed in my DMs that apparently rain is going to be approaching us in 5 minutes' time. So the laps are going to get underway rather quickly here in this first qualifying session, and the first driver to head out onto track is Will Lewis, of course, as I mentioned. First race here for R8G, and of course has been here a very long time, has had podiums and has had many top 10 finishes here in E-Series in the past for Williams and also for ABS, I think it was in Season 5. And of course, a new chapter here for Will Lewis in a different car to what we normally expect to see him in. But I'm sure we'll get used to it quite quickly. As we can see, Omi, this track in reverse, it's difficult, especially some of the braking zones here heading into what is normally turn 4 at Slosh Gold. Very weird exit because it's a little bit off cambered, you're going uphill, and it's very easy to lose the rear. And then, of course, we have the hairpin at the top of the hill, which is just a killer.
It is so challenging, and especially if we add in some rain in there in a few minutes' time,
It's here.
It could make it very challenging, and it is going to make it challenging, as you mentioned, because the rain is beginning to fall around the circuit, so these are the vital lap times.
They certainly are. So rain is falling here around the Red Bull Ring. It's still sunny, but there's rain heading onto circuit. The first car to cross the line. It's Will Lewis. What will it be? It's a 103.9697. Next to cross the line, it's Tycho Hardy. A couple of tenths back in P2. As we see there, FVR Topia's Covenant up into P4. Declan Barrett goes fastest for the FVR team. Benzoni splitting the two R8G cars. Both of the Williams cars now, P8 and P9. What about Dylan Warren? To the line goes 8th fastest for Ferrari. And then we have Jack West here, one of the two last cars to cross the line. Of course, the other one being his teammate, Szymon Lekomski. As Zildrim goes into P4, Simon Engel there, P10 as Rens Thomason jumps up into the top 9. Lekomski, where does he go? P5, where does Jack West go? That's P17, and that, to me, looks like he's going to be out of the session, especially if that rain continues to fall down on circuit. And at the moment, our bottom 5, Omi, it's Stachelek, West, Parnell, Adams and Dowds.
Adams and Dowds, as you mentioned, 1920th. They did not push around. They did not go out on the same. They did not go out at the same time, and it means that they have quite the challenge as they're on their out laps, and the rain will be falling. And the later we go into this session, it will probably be raining even more. So it's going to be quite the challenge for them to try find this lap time, so they could be possibly facing the exit in a few moments' time as the rest of them come back into the pit lane. But that was high pressure stuff. They would have seen the weather forecast, and that is why they all rushed out of the pit lane.
Certainly, and a great start there for Declan Barrett, straight up to the top of the timings, a 103.541, and I think he should be more than safe. If he's not, then I'll be very, very confused as what's going on. But we do have our final two cars to set a lap. It's Campbell Adams for FRT, and it's Cameron Dowes for Veloce Academy. Of course, these two went out a lot later than everybody else. I don't think they saw the rain was coming. Either that, or possibly they didn't think the rain was going to be bad enough, so they could have just stayed in the pits anyway. But Cameron, he spins round at the top of the hill, and that's his lap over before it really got started. Not ideal there for Cameron Dowds, and if the rain is progressively getting worse, he's got even less of a chance of getting a decent lap on the board, because he's got to go around again before he can start another lap. What can Campbell Adams do, though, for FRT?
That's another question as he rotates his way through, about to head down to the final corner on this circuit. But that was already a challenging task for Cameron Dowds, getting even harder. Let's see what Adams is going to manage as he makes his way. And he's invalidated. He's invalidated right at the end. Took too much of the curb on the inside. And as he comes across the line, he basically finds himself with exactly the same as Cameron Dowds. No lap time on the board due to that invalidation.
and it wouldn't have been enough anyway. It was a 104.4. That's around 3/10 off Jack West. So, I think it could be safe to say that Q1 might be over already. But, of course, there's a chance the rain might get lighter. I doubt it, but I suppose there's always that chance here in qualifying. And just look at the gap there between Ryan Modler and Piotr Staklek. 0.005 of a single second separating a car that's going through into Q2 and a car that will be going out in Q1. And, of course, it's big here for Red Bull and Alpine. Alpine sits second in the standings, 19 points back off Ferrari. Red Bull sit an extra point back off, 20 points back from Ferrari. They've got Liam Parnell also probably out and done in Q1, and that is harmful for both of those teams heading into this one. And of course for the likes of FRT and Veloci Academy, who've had a relatively poor start to the season, sitting P8 and P9, being 19th and 20th as well doesn't really help them. So there's lots of challenge for cars who sit near the rear of the standings, and then of course Alpine and Red Bull, who are right up at the top.
Yeah, there's quite a challenge and a good chance as well for RHG to strike back after a bit of their disappointing result last time out at Spa. It is fair to say, as Ferrari and Red Bull mainly took over the control at the top of that qualifying and the race as well. And it's another round that will change the balance completely of how we have seen this season, to be so far, and now into this part and this curveball that they have here at the Red Bull Ring in reverse. We're going to be seeing Jack West push on. We're also going to be seeing Piotr further back. The Alpine go out there on the circuit as well, but the rain's still falling and getting even worse. And West 5.5 tenths of the pace that was to be expected as he navigated his way through the first sector.
And that's Stachlek there into the wall, into the barriers at the top of turn 2. And of course that's also his session done. The drivers know there's no way they're going to find any time in this session. And I have received some more information. Q2 and Q3 is full wet, so we're not going to see any dry running in qualifying. It's going to be wet and wet for Q2 and Q3. And of course I'm surprised that we aren't seeing drivers retire now, as I mean, surely the session's over. Cameron Dowds heading through the first sector, you could just see there's no grip at all on those soft tyres. Jack West has called it a day in the pit lane, and then Campbell Adams has also decided to go out on track for some reason. But no, I'm very surprised that we aren't seeing everybody just bin it here. Not bin it, sorry. Retire from the session in the pit lane so that we can swiftly move on to Q2.
Yeah, and I think considering Stachlek and also West went out there on the circuit and gave it the ball, and Dowds is sliding all over the place as well. Considering they went out there and it's not worked and they've retired, I think that's an indication to everyone else that really it is not worth it to be out on this circuit or to be wasting any more time as well. As you can see how much Cameron Dowds struggling absolutely everywhere as he tries to make his way through. There's absolutely nothing you can do in these conditions as they continue to get worse.
Indeed, and while, Omi, we have a little bit of downtime here in this session, let's have a little word with, of course, our sponsors of the season, Sim Racing Centre. And we are back, and of course we've got our little SRC pop-up ad, which I really like. I mean, it shouldn't say Brazilian Interlagos, just ignore that bit, guys. Everything else, though, is perfect. Of course, SRC, you always experience excellence. They are the best, by far, setup company for the F1 game, and also for LMU, iRacing, ACC, etc. And believe me, there's quite a lot out there, so SRC are the best of the best. And of course, want to buy any setups, coaching, strategies, engineering, whatever you want, head over to simracingcentre.com. You can make your purchase today. And we are seeing drivers, Omi, finally starting to retire here because they know nothing else is going to happen in this session. We know who's going out.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You can be as talented as you want, but there is nothing you can do in these conditions. Try and get the improvement. Parnell is back out there on the circuit, but yeah, a few drivers electing to finally retire, including Cameron Dowd. He'll unfortunately be going from the back in 20th place. Yeah, it is right now nothing that the drivers will be able to do from this session, and if you are progressing, it will all be eyes to Q2 and a challenging Q2 in those wet conditions as you've mentioned to us.
Certainly, and of course, you know, normally we don't see a grid spread of around half a second at Austria between the top 15. Normally it's like 3 tenths max, and it just shows how difficult these interchanging conditions are, and you know how much of a task it is for some of our drivers. I mean, the likes of VNT 11th and 15th, quite lucky. The same for Williams, 13th and 14th. They were also very close to having both cars out in Q1. So it's just about getting that lap in at the perfect time. And of course, for Pios and Jack and Liam, it wasn't. And then of course, Campbell and Cameron didn't head out onto track at all in those first couple of minutes, which is quite surprising, I've got to say. But Liam Parnell probably doing a little bit of data gathering here on the intermediate tyres. We know he's one of the engineers, data gatherers, analysts, whatever you want to call him over at the Red Bull Sim Racing team. So I'm sure he's going out onto track now saying, right, Ulash, when we go out onto track in Q2, I want you to up your wing by this and lower your wing by that. I'm sure that's what he'll be saying once we head into Q2. You know, make those necessary changes that you need. And then, of course, it gives you some preparations just in case go into a wet race, which is more than possible. I'm sure the weather is set to dynamic here, but of course there's no reason why rain can't appear in the race. So once Liam goes back into the pits, I'm sure we will conclude this first qualifying session.
Yep, and that should hopefully be the case, so we can progress on to Q2, and as we've already previewed to you, it'll be quite a fascinating Q2 as well. Let's see whether Parnell will make his way in, but yeah, just gathering all of the data, gathering all he needs. He's going to go round once again. He'll make his way through the final corner when it comes to the reverse layout, turn 1. Usually, of course, the Niki Lauda curve, and Parnell goes round once again as Dylan Warren also joins the gaggle of drivers who can call themselves retirees from this Q1 session.
Indeed. So there we go. Oh, what a start to qualifying. We've had literally nothing happen apart from a flurry of laps at the start, and then of course unfortunately losing Liam Parnell. That's not what I wanted to say in Q1, that we lost Liam Parnell, but unfortunately we have, and he's not going to be making his way through into Q2. And of course, guys, welcoming in the chat. Great to see over 150 of you here tonight for PSGL E-Series, of course. Give us any predictions of what you think will happen over qualifying in the race. You might as well. We've got time to. Once Liam goes in, we should be done and dusted here. But of course, normally we'd be saying, right, so-and-so's at the top, they're looking good. But I don't think we can really do that, can we, at this point? Because I don't think anyone's shown any representative pace of what they normally can do. I'm sure. I don't know if it's the same or that different for reverse, but on the normal layout, you're like 102.6s. So.
Yeah, and the first few drivers that we saw come across the line, they still experience those tricky conditions around the final corners of their lap. So it's still a lot of improvement to be found, and right now the drivers, it would have been high pressure just to get a lap time on the board pretty much as well, as Parnell does enter his way into the pit lane. So that should hopefully be us done with a few minutes in this session to go. Hopefully all of the drivers will retire so we can progress on to Q2 and see how that session will play out. But that's where we will be able to judge a lot more when it comes to the wet weather, and if it is a wet race, then that will be quite handy for those drivers as well. And as you mentioned, there's nothing to say that we can't have a wet race later on with it being on dynamic.
Certainly so. So we have got 3 minutes officially left, and I'm hoping that it's all done and dusted here in a moment, and then we can head our way into Q2. Of course, we are losing one of the Alpines and one of the Red Bulls, of course, those two right at the top of the standings. We are also losing Jack West for McLaren, Campbell Adams for FRT, and then Cameron Dowds for Veloce Academy. And of course, this is actually a decent start for VNT. We know that they are right at the bottom of the standings, and they're around 20 points off of 9th. They've at least got both cars into the top 15. That does give them an opportunity to potentially push forward, potentially get into that top 10 into Q3 and try and score some decent points. I think they're the only team so far without a top 10 finish as well in this championship, and that is not really what VNT want at all, especially heading into this season. I think they always knew they'd be one of the underdogs, one of the teams near the back, but you don't want to really be falling that far back to the point where you think, well, what's the point? Because they are finishing near the back every race. So this is an opportunity for them to prove that they do deserve that spot here.
Yeah. You have, of course, the qualifiers night, which is so competitive. So competitive. Some people have, well, some teams have to face the exit, some progress, and you need to show your worth. You need to show why you belong out here in E-Series, and that's exactly what we like to see. As we have Liam Parnell making his way back out onto the circuit. A bit more data gathering, looks like down at Red Bull. The first bit wasn't enough, so we're going back out there, and that's the Parnell way. He'll deliver all of the information to you, Lass, and Red Bull will be all set and ready for the Q2 and Q3 sessions, and also if the race is wet, then that as well. But yes, Parnell back out there on the outlap.
Indeed, he's off again on some intermediate tyres, and Connor there getting some air time. Of course he is. Of course Liam Parnell's looking for some air time. He's the only one out on track on the intermediate tyres. I mean, I suppose it's either just sit there or go out on track and drive. So we do see a question in the chat as well from Will saying what's the difference between PCF1 and E-Series, and like Connor's perfectly said, E-Series is a team event, 10 teams. We have 6 esports teams and 4 community teams. They're in a £1,000 prize pool championship over 12 races, and this is race 5 of the championship. And like Connor says, yeah, this is basically esports practice. PCF1's more focused on esports practice, but this as well gives some of the development drivers more of an opportunity to, to see what they can do and, work with the team, whatever team they're in, of course. For example, RHG, of course, Will Lewis, very new to the team. Racing in this championship for RHG, he has a chance to work with their engineers, with the management, also with some teammates, and just build them some experience up as well. So there is lots of purpose for all these different championships here in PSGL, and normally we would be heading into Q2 by now and not seeing one car on track, but of course the conditions are sodden wet, so we are seeing just one car out on track. Once we head into Q2 and 3, we should see everybody actually trying to do something in qualifying.
Absolutely, Parnell just made it across the line to get this lap by just 10 seconds as he makes his way through. But yes, Q2, it's enough of the resting for those drivers, and it's all about then getting going and having to produce the same lap in conditions which we expect to be quite tricky. So it's going to be back basically to the drawing board, and the drivers will have to go again. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they end up when we get a result by the end of the Q2 session. Of course, by the time we end Q3, we'll also be awarding a point for pole position. And in a close championship like this, every point does matter, Richie.
Indeed, it certainly does. Of course, you get points for P20, points for P1, so you might as well take part no matter what. And at least we don't see cars retiring in the pits. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate it when drivers retire in the pits, and luckily, with everybody scoring a point, they won't. There we go. Q1 finished, done and dusted. We can finally head into Q2, where we can see some action on circuit and kind of see what the drivers can do. But of course, from our first initial looks at the drivers on track, so far, Declan Barrett is quite a cut above the rest. A 10th.5 ahead of Will Lewis in second. Then we have Azildrin, Benzoni, Lekomsky, Hardy, Van Zelter, Paradzic, Sabrino, Thomason and Engel in the top 11. Then we have Dylan Warren, Ikebana, Tobias Koivunen and Ryan Modler. And then we did lose Stachelek, West, Parnell, Adams and Dowds. And now we can head into Q2, Omi. And I'm hoping that they go out as quick as possible. I don't want to sit here for another 3 or 4 minutes while they wait to go out onto track for the conditions.
I think we've all had enough waiting. I think we've all waited enough to warrant cars out there on the circuit on full push, on full attack. Let's hope we're going to get that in a few moments' time as we journey our way into this Q2 session, as we begin to tick down, and hopefully some cars heading straight out there immediately to entertain us with some lap times as well.
Indeed, and we'll see who's first to go out, and it will be a lot of cars. The first one I think is actually a VNT. It will be Ryan Modler, I think. First car out on track here in this session, and we'll have to see what he can do, of course, like I said earlier on, was only put into the roster a couple of days ago for VNT. Recently joined them, I believe, from TF10. So he's got a lot to prove here for the VNT team, and hopefully can try and strive for some better results for the team. Of course, Simon Engel as well has been here for a couple of rounds so far this season, and he also is looking to try and improve on past finishing places.
Indeed, as they navigate their way through then on this outlap, and then prepare for the push as well that will be coming their way. So they've of course already had a challenge of those conditions where it was raining slightly, but they were on slick tires. Now the rain's completely calmed down and they are on those intermediates. So it'll all be about generating the grip and trying to get the best out of this circuit. And there will be lots of improvement. There'll be lots of improvement, hopefully all the way till the end in this session. So they will set themselves a benchmark to build upon, and then hopefully the lap times will get quicker and quicker and quicker as we get ready to end the session.
Indeed, and I'm sure they will. Well, I hope they will, but it depends how the track goes. It could just be one run in the session and then that's it. But if the conditions stay the same, then there's more than an opportunity for drivers to go back out once again and set a lap. But here is Ryan Modler for the Ventura Esports team. Of course, sit P10 in the standings, and both of their drivers are through into Q2. Let's see what they can do on these opening runs as you make your way through up the hill. This will be turn 4 and 5, I believe. This is so difficult to get right. Turns 3, 4. Then we have turns 5 and 6. There we go. This is going to get confusing, but I'm sure Omi will get there by the time we go into the race, so we can actually say the corner numbers properly. So into turn 6. No. Turn 7 goes Ryan Modler. Yeah. And then the hairpin's turn 8, I think. Then we got the kink at turn on, and then the final corner down at turn 10.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. Then Modler making his way through, about to go through that kink, which Richie was just talking you through as well. And then we are heading down to the final corner where you need to try keep it within the white lines. We've already seen the inside curve being cut too much as well. And then also get your foot to the floor. I'm about to get a lap time on the board then with Modler as he comes across the line. And it is going to be a 1 minute 11.044 for the rest of the drivers to beat.
Indeed, and we do see there Thomason just behind Kovinen as well. Just there, and then Simon Engel straight to the top of the timings with a 1:11.007. A great start here to the session by VNT. Declan Barrett there, just behind him P4 as Florian van Zelter goes fastest by 0.3 of a second. Up to P1 for FRT. Dylan Warren up into P2. Lekomsky is sitting there in third for McLaren. What about Tycho Hardy? On the intermediate tyres up to the line. Where does he go? P2, a 1:10.808. So there we have it. Surprisingly, there's actually quite a big gap there between the top 15, 8.5 tenths separating them all. But a great start there to Q2 for VNT. P5 and P6 Ferrari, 3rd and 8th, good for them. Both of the R8Gs as well in the top 10, P2 and P10. But of course, a struggling start for Williams. A struggling start as well for Ulash Ildrim. Surprisingly, 8 tenths off the pace.
I'll be expected there to be some shocks, and there we go. Immediately at it. Some drivers dialing into the racetrack a little bit better than others, which we expected at this phase. But if the circuit continues to improve, then hopefully they will find themselves, or even if the circuit remains at the current conditions, they will continue to try and improve on what they've managed so far. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they're all going to be able to get on. They will enter themselves back into the pit lane for the moment, and then it will be all preparations to getting going once again, analysing how their lap times went as well, and where they can possibly find the improvement.
Indeed, and Yona Martin's in the chat saying any shocks in Q1. I'd say the biggest were Liam Pano for Red Bull. I know he probably wouldn't have made it into Q3 anyway because he doesn't drive as much, but still a shock for Red Bull. And then Piot as well for Alpine. He finished P16. We had Jack West 17th. Then 19th was Campbell Adams, and 20th was Cameron Dowds. And Campbell and Cameron would have had a chance probably, but they went out way too late. By the time everybody set a lap, they went out onto circuit. So, yes, no lap time set for VA and FRT. And I'm sure that there'll be some words being had there with either those two drivers or the engineers, because it's like, well, how have you managed to mess that up so badly? Everybody else went on track by you two. So I'm sure there'll be some stern words being happening down at the FRT and Veloce Academy camp, but we do have cars straight back out on the circuit. The first one, or one of the first ones, being Tomasz Pradzic, of course, the only Alpine car into the top 15, and has a lot of work to do if he wants to, you know, try and not cause such a deficit between Ferrari and Alpine, because that gap's, I think, 20 points in the standings, and with both Ferraris in the top 10, they're certainly going to look to try and extend that, as we do see Sergio Sobrino up into the top 3 for Veloce Academy.
So he's been able to find the time, and that's decent stuff there as he came across the line, going up to third position at the moment. We've got 8 minutes and 45 seconds in the clock to go, on the clock to go at the moment, and you have the rest of the drivers now preparing for their second run in this session. Van Zelter, great first initial lap time as we mentioned. Let's see whether he can try and go even faster. It's that type of session where if the circuit stays in this current conditions or goes even better, then you need to improve, or you could possibly find yourself facing the exit.
Indeed, and let's have it on board here of Ulash Ildrim, of course. A very good start to Q1, I think qualified third. Q2, though, is currently 14th, needs to find at least 8 tenths to beat the time of Florian Van Zelter. He's up already by half a second, so it was probably just a big mistake in Sector 1 there. He's already up by 4 tenths as he heads his way in towards turn number 7. Of course, onto the brakes, of course. Don't touch the curb, but get as close to it as you possibly can. And then, of course, back on the power straight away, burning the battery. Down towards turn number 8. And let's see where he brakes. It'll be just before that 100-metre board. And you can see that the car not happy on the brakes in towards turn 8. Of course, a bit of a downhill as you head down to second gear. As we do see Ulash there up by just over 6 tenths in the first and second sector. 1 corner to go, turn 10. Of course, hop the curb on the entry, ride the curb on the exit, use all the battery that you've got left in the car, up to the line. Where will it be? Have a look in a second. P3 for Ulash. That's a big improvement, and one he's certainly needed in that Red Bull.
Absolutely, and that tells you where the circuit is heading to. It wasn't the easiest lap, as you would have seen, as he arrived on the brakes for turn number 8, but still finds a mammoth improvement. It will be over to the rest of the drivers. Tycho Hardy, the driver in third, is finding a little bit of time. Van Zelter is making his way through. He invalidated the time that time by, so he's going to find himself vulnerable to the drivers in behind. Hardy's about to also come across the line in a few moments' time, as are the Ferrari drivers as well of Benzoni. So Benzoni's going to be pushing on. He goes to 7th. As Hardy comes across the line, he's in second, an improvement of 77 thousandths of a second there as he came across the line. So decent stuff as they all try and look to try and find their step forward. Will Lewis currently in the drop zone. He is also finding an improvement as it stands.
Indeed, and next we have Will Lewis here in P14 currently. 4 and a little bit tenths away from the lap time of Florian Van Zelter, who set that right at the start of the session. Brilliant stuff here for Florian so far, as Hardy goes into P2, of course, and let's see what Will Lewis can do. Currently P14 as it stands, heading up to the line, should easily be into that top 10. Goes P4 there, a great lap from Will Lewis. And who's next to cross the line? I think we have both of the FER cars. First, it'll be Rens Thomason in P14. And of course, these two set lap times right at the start of the session, but he's yet to finish their second runs. So through the final corner goes Rens. Let's see what he can do here for FER. Would love to get both of them into the top 10 here for Q3. Up to the line, stays 14th. Didn't improve on that initial run. What about Declan Barrett? We should expect to see him up into that top 10. That's for sure. Up to the line, where can he go? P7, a 10.846 there, just ahead of Ryan Modler for VNT. And what about Florian Van Zelter? Is he up by anything in the first sector here? He makes his way up the hill. I'm not sure he is. He's down by 1 second. So we did a great lap at the start of the session, Naomi, but can't improve on it.
Yeah, and he'll be happy, though, at least, that he still finds himself at the top as well. A driver who's just begun his lap is Dylan Warren, as he currently pushes on. We'll see how this one goes. He's currently down by 18 thousandths of a second, so a bit of time to try and make up later on in this lap for the driver that is at risk. He is currently through as it stands, but is in 10th, and you are going to expect all of the drivers to be improving as they will continue on. So that was all out of shape through turn number 7. Now we're heading towards turn number 8 with Dylan Warren, and then we'll get an idea of how this lap time is possibly looking for him. He gets the braking point sorted at turn number 8, stands on the throttle, and now let's see how it is going to be. He's up now by a 10.5, just over that at the moment, so it's looking good at the moment for Dylan Warren. Let's see how it is going to end though. You need to navigate this final corner at turn number 10 once you've done that, and then it's a bit of a wait as you get ready to come across the line and see where this lap time is going to take you for Dylan Warren. It will be to the top, 1 minute 10.687.
Indeed, a nice lap there by Dylan, and Riccardo Benzoni was up by only a fraction in Sector 2. Heading up to the line here for Ferrari, where can he go? It'll be P5 there, a 1.5 for Ferrari, and just look at the gaps here. Even though we're in interchanging conditions and the track grip's changing all the time, the top 10 are separated by 1.5 tenths of a second. And of course, the top 14 just under 4 tenths, and then of course that lap there for Iker is not representative at all. So I'm not going to put that one into the equation. But there we go. Ferrari starting to bounce back a little bit after they were looking quite vulnerable a couple of minutes ago. But they sit P1 and P5, a new fastest lap as well there by Dylan Warren. Let's see what Simon Engel can do here for VNT. Of course, they were situated P5 and 6 after the first runs. And Simon here up by just over a tenth and a bit in Sector 1. But of course needs to do the same in Sector 2 and 3 if he wants to be safely into that top 10.
Does indeed. You need to be improving throughout the entire lap as he will now push on. You of course have DRS down this part of the circuit, but it is right now raining. We'll see whether it all changes around come the race, however. Will Lewis now on an out lap as he gets ready for his push. Same with Hardy as well. Engel up by 700ths at the moment. Let's see whether he can keep that up. Let's see whether he can extend it through the final corner to see whether he can improve up into the top 10.
Indeed, and to the line here for Simon Engel. What will it be for VNT? Days 12th, improved by a tenth, but that wasn't enough to put himself up into the top 10. Big shame there for Simon Engel. Then we have Sergio, who's not on a lap, and we have the same there for Ulash Zildrum. I think he's just beginning a lap here in qualifying. Currently sits P8, of course, has just been, in my opinion, the best driver this season. Every time I've commentated over him, I'm sure he's been on the podium in E-Series, so he should be automatically into the top 10 every race at this point. He should be one of those who's always near the top end of things as he heads out of Sector 1. What will it be here for Ulash? It's a tenth down. That's not promising here for him in that first sector, considering he's still got a couple of tenths to find on Dylan Warren in Sector 2 and 3 alone as he heads into turn number 5. No, turn number 7. There we go. It's so confusing, this is Omi. I mean, normally it's easy because we have a track map, but here we don't, so we have to guess everything. And, yeah, not ideal there for Ulash. And Carson in the chat saying it looks wetter. It certainly does, and if that's the case, then God help the bottom 5.
Absolutely, that's not what they want at the moment, and Zildrim down by over a tenth of a second at the moment. So you had one Red Bull that was eliminated when it came to the first part of qualifying of Parnell. Right now Zildrim is through as it stands, but it doesn't look like he's on an improvement, and he stays in 8th position. Engel, we know he'll be out. He's retired in 12th position. Warren, of course, safe in P1. And if this circuit is getting wetter, not good news, as you mentioned, for those drivers in the top 5.
Indeed, and of course, BNT, what a shame this has been. I mean, look at the gaps to Declan Barrett for those guys. It's only half a tenth between those two and Declan, and unfortunately, they won't be making their way through into Q3. Renz Thomason, I think, also has got no chance here because the lap times are getting slower, the track is getting wetter. As we head out of Sector 2, what will it be? Is a 10th down, so he's already on for a 111.1. So a big shame there for Renz Thomas, and the same for Thomas Bradzisz, which means it's more than likely that both Alpines will be out before Q3. And considering they sit P3 in the standings, they don't want to be finishing P13 and P16 in qualifying, because that gives them so much more work to do than realistically they want to do, because both Ferraris are up into that top 10. Ulash as well, up into the top 10 and probably a little bit lucky there because he's only, what, 30 thousandths ahead of Ryan Muddler.
Yeah, the relief will definitely be felt by him that earlier on it was just good enough to get himself through. Had it gone a little bit more scruffier, it could have been a completely different story as the checkered flag falls now and the drivers continue on at the moment as well, but no one finding the time, no one finding anything that could change our order due to these conditions that have got worse.
Oh,
so it is all changed around.
And Declan improved, P8. I just saw that in the chat. My bad for not looking, I should be. But yeah, Declan moved up to P8 there. So, Declan's got some good pace. I mean, Q1, right at the top by a tenth and a half. Q2, improved when nobody else was even close to it. Everyone else was down by a tenth at least. I mean, Ulash was a tenth and a half down. Tommen improved to a 10.9, but that was before he got wetter. So, that is great stuff there from Declan Barrett.
It also happened last week as well. He just got himself in there. We didn't even notice until we saw in the chat. He just gets himself into positions. And as I mentioned, coming into this when I was reading the race results from last time, he was one of the stars of the show last time. And he's trying to do the same, and he's on his way to.
He certainly is, and it was Dylan Warren who went fastest in that qualifying session, ahead of Florian Fanzel to P2 for the Aston Martin, FRT, I'll get it right. Then it was R8G, Tiger Hardy, third ahead of Tobias Koivunen for Williams in fourth, Benzoni fifth, Lekomsky P6, Lewis seventh, Barrett eighth, Isildrim ninth, and Sabrino the top 10, and we lost Modler, Engel, Paradzic, Thomason, and Ikebana. So one Williams not making it through, another Alpine not through, one of the FVRs not through, and then both of the VNTs out in Q2. Very sad sight for those guys because they had some pace. And Omi, from when we went into Q1 it was dry. We went into Q2, there's a bit of rain. Heading into Q3, it looks even wetter.
Challenge getting higher and higher and higher. And this has been quite the qualifying session, hasn't it? It has all changed on its heads. And we now arrive into this Q3 session. And as you mentioned, visibly looking better. And it means that all of the teams will be getting ready to try and get themselves out there on the circuit as soon as possible. And try get this lap time on the board then.
Indeed. And here we go. Once again, cars out on track. The first one being Declan Barrett for FVR, of course, one of the cars for that team making it through, and we did lose Rens Thomason in 14th in Q2. Of course, a big shame there for Rens, but great to see FVR in the top 10 once again, and it shows what a star signing that Declan Barrett has been for the team. As I'm just looking for some information, apparently the weather's going to be similar, but it could get progressively worse, but the track will also rubber in, so that will also factor into it. That's the message I've received. So, in all honesty, Omi, I don't really know. If I'm being honest, I've been told.
I mean, that information hasn't been too useful, has it? It's made us more confused.
I mean, for drivers, yes. For engineers, they know what that means, but to us, we have no knowledge of the game, let's be honest. It means nothing, but there we go. So it might get worse, it might not. We'll have to see. pretty much. But the first laps will matter. We know that for sure, Omi.
Yeah, so we've got to pay attention. We've got to follow these ones quite closely indeed, as they will be getting ready to push on. It will be Declan Barrett who will be looking now to try and find the time. He will be the first one to go out there and set a lap time on the board for us. Okay, out of turn number 10, it is going to be foot to the floor then as he gets ready to go to turn 1, and here we go. Well, we don't know what the weather's going to do later on, but all we know is this is an important lap.
It certainly is, and of course for Declan Barrett, he'll be looking at trying to go to the top because he's had the pace to do that in Q1, and he probably would have had the pace to do that in Q2 considering he found some time on that last run as he heads through Sector 1. Let's see Sector 1. It's a 21.169 compared to Will Lewis. What did he set? A 21.4. So very nice first sectors here for the drivers as we head down towards turn 7. Of course, this is a tricky corner in the dry, never mind in the wet. Very easy to lose the way up on the exit as you head up the hill. And then, of course, in towards the Riemers hairpin at turn number 8. Right on the brakes just before that 100-metre board. Get the car stopped. You could see the front left locking on the way in, but of course that's fine on these intermediate tyres. Sector 2, it's a 53.5 for Will Lewis. Let's see what it'll be for him. 53.7, so a couple of tenths here. Ahead is Declan Barrett as we head into the final corner, Omi.
Absolutely, here we go then. Barrett will set a lap time in a few moments' time for us, a 1 minute 10.927. Let's see how all of them will compare to that one. Hardy sets a 1 minute 11.2. Will Lewis just goes ahead of that for the moment as well as they all continue. And here we go, we're about to get some more cars across the line. We have Lukumski into second place. Benzoni goes to the top. What does Dylan Warren do?
P4. That's a surprise there for Dylan Warren. P4 on track as Ildrim goes to the top there with a 110.895 there for Red Bull. A great start for him. Florian van Zelter tops Q2. Can't get a lap time set at the start here of Q3. He's going to have to go again on these intermediate tyres. What about Topias Koivunen? A 21.2 in the first sector. Very decent here for Topias at the moment as we head into turn number 7. Makes his way through, of course, missing the apex, but that's fine in these conditions. It's all about just carrying that raw speed through. As we head down to turn 8, what will it be in sector 2 is the question here for Topias. Locks up, hits that yellow curb, and it drags the car all the way down until that curb finishes. He misses the apex, he loses time, but I believe it's still matching what Will Lewis did in that first and second sector, so not looking too bad here, considering he's made a couple of major mistakes on this opening run. Heading up to the line, what will it be here for Topias Koivunen? Will it be P6? And that, Omi, that could have been provisional pole, I think, because he lost so much time in that final, well, the end of sector 2, heading into turn 8. Now, what about Florian van Zelter?
Let's keep an eye on him as he comes across the line, but yeah, could have definitely been, as Van Zelter is 10th and last at the moment, but lots of mistakes on that lap, as I can assume lots of drivers had. So it'll all be about a situation where they'll all go down and just look at, okay, we lost a lot of time there, we lost a lot of time there, and it'll all add up for so many drivers, and everyone will end up believing that they could have been on pole position with how this session is probably going to end as well. But that's the thing, you've got to minimize those errors across a lap, a very short lap, but you've got to minimize those errors. And in these conditions, combined with this reverse layout, it can usually lead to some issues for those drivers and can give us quite an interesting qualifying session.
It certainly can. And let's see what Szymon Lekomski can do here for McLaren. I'm messing up the name so much tonight, guys. I am sorry. My excuse is it's my first time streaming in around 7-8 months. But Lekomski, crucial, 2 tenths improvement. This is enough here, currently, to go into provisional pole position here. Let's see what he can do. Out of turn 10. Heading up to the line is McLaren's Szymon Lekomski. It's provisional pole. It's a 110.770 for Lekomski. That's a brilliant lap for him. Next is Riccardo Benzoni. A 110.899. 4 thousandths back from Rinashes Ildrim. Can he jump back to the front row? To the line he does. P2 for Riccardo Benzoni. Next we have Dylan Warren. What can he do? He's found a couple of tenths in sector 2. Is it enough for a provisional pole? No, it's P4 for Dylan Warren. Next we have Sergio Sobrino, who I believe has made a mistake on the last run, or he's setting up to go again. Out of the final corner, full battery, Omi. Let's go on board with Sergio Sobrino for Veloce Academy.
Yeah, let's see how this lap time is going to play out as we throw it into the first turn. You've got 5 minutes and 25 seconds to go on the clock. You navigate your way through turn 2, stand on the power all over the curb, as now he's about to navigate into turn number 3, followed by turn number 4, as you try and get this round without running too wide, without making the mistakes. We were talking about minimizing those errors, and he's 2 tenths up at the moment. Is Sergio Sobrino, the Spanish driver, continuing his attack around this Red Bull Ring circuit, as he will try and find the improvement. The driver currently in P6, as he now stands on the power and prepares to head down towards turn number 8, and let's see how turn number 8 is going to go for him. And then straight after that we'll get a sector time on the board to see whether there's been a further improvement for him on this lap as well. So let's see how it is going to look for him, and it's 4 tenths, nearly 4.5 tenths up there, so he's going to be finding the time. Could it be good enough for pole position? Let's see how turn 10 goes.
This could be a 0.6, possibly a 0.5 for Sergio Sobrino. Heading up to the line, for Veloce Academy. Will it be provisional pole? Yes, it will. A 1:10.586 here on circuit for Sergio Sobrino and for Veloce Academy. But of course, there's still 4 minutes to go. The rain's getting lighter. The track is rubbering in even more. So we are going to see more drivers find that time as well. The two R8Gs are on track. Tygo Hardy is up by a couple of tenths in Sector 2. Can he try and go near the top here for R8G? Goes P2. A tenth back from pole, but it's still a provisional front row for him. What about Will Lewis? He's down, I think, Omi, so I think he's gone for a double out lap and will be preparing to go for his lap next time around.
Yep, not full speed for Lewis, so let's see how he's gonna do then, as he will push on after this extra out lap has been completed. He's 6.3 seconds off the pace, so absolutely he will go round next time by and try and make that his push lap. Same applies to Fanzelter. He's begun that push lap as he's navigating his way through turn number 2. Important lap for him because he's all the way down in P10 at the moment.
Indeed, we have Florian Fanzelter, of course, aborting the lap. Topias Koivunen, is he on a lap here? He's flying through turn 3 and 4, so I think he might be. Let's see what he can do in Sector 1. He's up by half a tenth to 21.147. Remember, he was quick on that first run until the mistake into turn 8. So he's still got a lot of potential on this lap as he heads through in towards turn 7. Nice speed carried through there. Straight onto the power here for Topias Koivunen. But of course, still a couple of crucial corners to go on this lap. He heads in towards turn number 8. You can see, I think he lifted off quite early. I think he was a little bit cautious of braking at the normal point at that corner just because he didn't want to make the same mistake. He's up by 3 tenths, but he's lifting off. I think he's doing the same as everybody else so far. He's lifting off and looking to go again. Or is he going to pits? No. He's just going to... Oh. So we must be going for another out lap and go in again at the end. So he's going for what? 5 laps of fuel at the moment then, because he's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then a 5th time on this circuit. So he's just going and going and going.
Backed out of that one. Back to backing off then for him as Barrett rejoins the circuit as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the strategies are, but Fanzelter's also lifted off.
Interesting. So it's all a mess out there on the circuit as we try and get lap times on the board. All we know is that there's 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock to go. So whatever runs they're doing, whatever plans they're doing, they have to be good and they have to be fast as they try and secure themselves the 1 point available for pole position. Currently heading the way of Veloce and Sergio Sobrino at the moment. 1 minute 10.586. The lap time to beat everyone on out laps. I'm pushing on as well in a few moments as Lukumski finds his way now to second place.
Indeed, and that was only, what, 6 thousandths away from pole position there for Szymon Lukumski. Florian Fanzelter's going into the pit lane with 1 minute and 7 seconds to go. That means his session's over. Florian Fanzelter will not be setting another lap time in Q3. A big shame for him indeed. So the next one to begin a lap, I think, will be... Declan Barrett, of course, has gone for 1 out lap and 1 flying lap. And it's all down to him here, of course, as flying in Q1. Very quick in Q2. But, of course, none of that really matters. Where it really matters is the last lap of Q3.
Indeed, it has to be all on the attack. This is when it's all on the line as he navigates his way through. Let's see whether there's going to be an improvement. You've got 9 drivers who will all be attacking, all be trying to set the fastest time around this circuit, which has been challenging so far. Fanzelter, we already knew he wouldn't be able to continue. Barrett up by 900ths of a second. That'll be a foundation that he'll want to build upon in Sector 2 and 3.
It certainly will be. So it's all down here to Declan on this lap at the moment. P8 currently, of course, 4 tenths-ish away from that top spot. But, of course, he hasn't been out for quite a few minutes in this qualifying session. So it's all down to this lap here for Declan. In towards turn 8, you can see heavy on the brakes. The car going through at such a slow speed. But then it's straight back onto the power, out of the corner, and down towards the final couple of corners. He's up by 1.5 tenths. In Sector 1 and 2, he's going to need a mighty final sector here if he wants to go for pole position into turn 10. It's 1 dash to the line here for Declan Barrett for FVR. Where can he place his car? To the line. He goes P4 with a 6.99. Next it will be Topias Koivunen is up by half a second in Sector 2. It's provisional pole for Williams here as we have a few more cars still to set lap times. Benzoni, he goes even quicker. It's pole for Ferrari. No improvement here for Dylan Warren. Next it's Will Lewis for R8G. To the line goes P7. Then it's Tycho Hardy for R8G as well. Where can he go? He matches the time of Sergio Sabrino, who's up by 2/10. It's pole position for Veloci Academy for Sergio Sabrino with a storming lap. It's a 1:10.372. Unless it's denied, it is. McLaren are on pole position. It's Szymon Lekomski who goes quickest with another barnstorming lap right at the end of qualifying. And McLaren 7th in the championship, but they're on pole for round 5 of the championship.
How did he do that? That was unbelievable stuff. Improvement on improvement. And it means it's Lekomski, then Sabrina, then Benzoni, and then we had Koivunen, all of them finding the improvement to the top step for a second. Then it was Hardy, Ozildrim, Barrett, Lewis, Warren, Fanzelta. Absolutely extraordinary ending to Q3. That is how it can all be on the line, and it was a mixed qualifying with some low moments due to the conditions at times, but when it ends like that, that's just absolutely fantastic.
It is, and I want to sit here and say that that was the best qualifying of the season, but I know Harvey is going to hate me for it and take the mick out of me because I say that rain's worse than the dry. But the rain has just produced the best qualifying I've seen in a very long time. So, I've got to be careful what I say, and I don't want to eat my words. But there we go. What an ending to qualifying. My voice is dead already, and we've still got a 36 lap to go. 36 lap race to go around the Red Bull Ring. Of course, we do have our restart as normal. So, it's back to square one for a few minutes. Get ready, get to go again. And then well, I wonder if there's... Oh, see, I'm kind of sad because, if we stayed in that session, we would have got rain in the race. So, we're not going to have any rain, I don't think, because the chances tend to be quite low around here.
They do. And we found a scenario where we got a wet quali and we could have had a wet race. But yeah, we will not be staying in here as well in terms of this race. We will be having a lobby restart, which we do after every single E-Series race, and it allows us to have a bit of a breather, doesn't it, after what was that type of qualifying session. And yeah, you have to be careful what you say. A wet qualifying absolutely delivered.
It certainly did, and while we've got time, let's have a look at the standings currently. And it's kind of key to mention this because Ferrari, they sit, I think it was P3 and P8 in that session, and they lead the championship. R8G, I think it was P4 and P6 or P8, so I'm getting the numbers mixed up. They sit second, and then of course it's key for Red Bull and Alpine. Red Bull have Ulash starting like 9th, and they had Liam Parnell in Q1 in 18th. Alpine had no cars in the top 10. So this is a perfect opportunity for Ferrari and R8G to pull a little bit more clear of 3rd and below. But of course, for the likes of McLaren, perfect having a pole position there because they're only 20-ish points back from Williams. They're only 30 points back from FVR. So there's still an opportunity for them if Lekomski can convert this pole into a win. But of course, we haven't done any reverse races yet on the game, so we don't really know how this is going to go. It's like having a brand new track because if you have any other track on this game, you've raced it before probably. We've had it in PSGL before, but this track, we haven't. So it's a brand new learning again for everybody, for every driver on the track.
Yeah, it's completely, basically, starting from fresh. And that's what's made the qualifying even more crazy, because you throw it in wet conditions as well. It was already going to be tricky around this new circuit and a new experience for everyone at this highly competitive level to now also basically get conditions for that qualifying. It threw a huge curveball, and yeah, we'll see what the race is going to be like. We'll see what the conditions are going to be in the race, but such a challenge, and as you mentioned, there's not anything that indicates to us how this one could go. There's no form book, there's none of that. We're basically just going from fresh here with E-Series around a reverse Austria circuit for the first time ever in PSGL history.
Indeed, and while we're waiting to go in, let's have a look at the calendar for this upcoming season. Of course, it's been a brilliant first 4 rounds. We're here, round 5, the 15th of August, I should say, for Austria in reverse. And we have a break week, and then we head to Miami for round number 6 on August 29th, and then it's Spain, Barcelona for round 7. Then we head to Silverstone, the normal layout for round 8, ahead of Monza for round 9. And that's going to be an interesting race for sure. And then it's Baku, a track we don't often see, hosts round 10 ahead of Texas for round 11. And then the season finale, we head to the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. Probably my favourite track for on-track racing, and one of my favourite tracks in general. It is a really nice track, so I'm glad that we get to, most likely, decide our champion around that circuit. But Omi, of course, I'm sure you might be back once or twice, whether it's in replacement of me or Corey. Any track on that list, from Miami down to Saudi Arabia, that you'd want to come back for the most?
Oh, well, there's quite a lot of good ones, I have to say. Jeddah to end is quite chaotic, isn't it? You have 3 back-to-back DRS, and there is a literal chance you could possibly see it literally going down to the last corner in terms of deciding on championship with how competitive it has been. Silverstone, of course, you always do have to consider as well, and I think Baku is going to deliver quite a bit of chaos. So there's actually quite a lot of good rounds in terms of entertainment and from watching as well. So yeah, it's a very good E-Series calendar, and I mean, I'd love to be back for any of them because these drivers can deliver at nearly every circuit.
Yeah, they certainly can. I think no matter where we go, we're going to have a good race. I think the only one that I'm kind of scared for is Baku, because it's... yeah, you can't really overtake, and any overtake you make is normally in a corner where you can't really go too wide. So that's going to be a little bit chaotic. Monza as well. That turn 1, that chicane, the Rettifilio chicane is always a killer. That's going to be interesting. And then, of course, the likes of Britain, Spain. 2 of my favourite tracks along with Jeddah. And then, of course, Kota as well. 4 brilliant tracks in that second half of the season. But, of course, we have a break week in between this race and Miami. So we're not here next week. We'll be back the week after. And very shortly, we're heading our way into the race. Of course, a big thank you to Dylan Warren for setting up the lobby today. Of course, a big thank you to anybody who hosts the lobby, because it means I haven't got to do it, which I'm very thankful for. And I've said no, I'm streaming. I won't do it anymore. So they're going to always have to find a driver to host the lobby. But before we head into the race, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors over at Sim Racing Centre.
Huge thanks, as always, to SRC, who have made this season possible of E-Series, and with them you can always experience excellence, of course, as well. And Richie, we're about to count down and get this race going. It's going to be dramatic, 36 laps of action. I mean, when we do it the right way around, it's already quite frenetic, so let's see how this one's going to go. It's completely into an unknown, as we've already described it.
Yep, it is. I don't have a clue what's going to happen. I wish I could, but I don't. And that's going to be the interesting part. Of course, we are back onto dynamic weather, but there is a chance it can be dry. There's a chance it can be wet. And I was looking up in the chat, and Antics there saying that from his testing, there's a chance of around 30% for rain. So, more than likely not. But pardon me, the chance is always there. So, we get to see shortly what's going to happen. We'll head over to our pre-race screen, which I love there, of course. I'm not going to take any credit for everything, of course. SRC make the graphics, well, some of the graphics at least, like this one. And then I had Sappy in the background help me set everything up, because I turned up today and I'm like, right, I haven't streamed in how long? I don't know how to do anything. But luckily, I'm set up. Omi joined at the right time, which was at the end of setting everything up, so he didn't have to sit there and listen to us try and pull our eyeballs out. But we got there in the end, and we got some very nice, lovely graphics. But Omi, finally, we can get started, and you're going to have the pleasure of taking us away for lap 1 of the race, which I wish you luck, that's safe to say, and the track is rather cloudy.
It is rather cloudy, okay? Well, we find ourselves with a scenario of something that we haven't done before, so it is, as we've described it a few times, a complete unknown. We are looking down in the pit lane, and we are going to get ready for the race. 30% we've been told in the chat, the chance of rain. It'll be a dry start at least, but what happens after that is a complete unknown. At the moment, the drivers will be getting themselves ready, getting their setups all loaded, of course, as we've gone into a new race session, and then along with that, of course, getting all their tyre strategy and everything prepared for the moment as they try to set themselves up for this race, which even for them, there's just going to be quite a lot where they won't know what's going to happen, even though they would have done a bit of practice.
Yeah, certainly. There would have been a lot of practice done for these drivers heading into this one because they have no previous data to go from. So I think there's also going to be a lot of guesswork with pit stops, and I don't know if it's a 1 or 2 stop, but I'm leaning more towards it being a 2 stop here.
Yeah, 2 stop will definitely make things interesting as well. Lots of these drivers, of course, have competed here earlier on in the season for the normal tiers in PSGL. It was the season opener as well. Lots of these drivers competing in F2 and in F3. We mentioned it's not a stacked grid as usual, so we have lots of those drivers who are present in this grid and who are going to get the chance to prove themselves and show all of their class and talent, which we always love to be able to give these drivers the spotlight and for them to be able to compete at this high level where it is all on the line. Some great rewards by the end of the season, and it's quite a high pressure environment, but if you get it right, some good things can await for these drivers.
It certainly can, and we're being held a lot longer than we normally are here. So, Omi, I can tell that you're running out of things to say, because I've also run out of things to say. But all I'm going to give now is the race director. Most drivers are on the mediums. A couple of them have selected the hard tyre. And I've been confirmed, unfortunately, it's a full dry race.
Full dry race, there we go. We've got the information, so we will also be getting the DRS open. 3 times we have that around this circuit. So the DRS will be getting open as well to assist the drivers with some overtaking, to assist with the dive bombs as well when we aren't stuck in a DRS train. So we'll get ready. We'll see how this all is going to play out. And we will be looking then all the way to the 5 red lights, and we'll await for them to make their way to what is usually turn number 10, but will be turn number 1. Here we go then. It is finally time for the first time in PSGL history. Let's go racing in reverse. It's a good launch for the McLaren off Lukomski, but Sergio Sabrino will try and contend, but he's got Benzoni to the side. Benzoni has a look around the outside. He can't get there, so it is Lukomski with the lead, and then it's Sabrino, then it's Benzoni, and then we get Koivunen, who is in 4th position. Uzildrim's in 5th. Model has gained a place. He's battling up against Dylan Warren as we run wheel to wheel. Warren trying to gain 3 places there. That was super late on the brakes as Will Lewis fights his way by up to P8. Warren drops down to 9th, but he was super aggressive on the opening tour. The top 3 as they left the line.
Indeed, many early moves being made in this race, and further back there I think there's a battle for 19th and 20th. They're 3 wide near at the back, but further at the front it's Barrett versus Azildrim. Of course, 2 former teammates, technically both used to be part of the Red Bull sim racing team. One of them no longer, the other one still there. And Barrett up into P4. Koivunen being done dirty there. He drops down to P5. And now Azildrim's going to have a run. He's going to look to try and jump up into the top 5, but the door is closed. No move being made for Ulash Azildrim here on lap 1. He's now into P6. Of course, it was a really poor start for Tycho Hardy. Went wide at turn 1 and dropped all the way down to P8 for a moment as we head our way through. And the same there for Dylan Moran. He dropped down to P11 for a minute, but he's jumped back up into the top 10. Further back there, we can see Cameron Dowd battling it out with Jack West. That's going to be an interesting battle between these two. It's going to get feisty when you have Jack West and Cameron Dowd battling as they make their way through the first sector. Then further ahead there, Piotr Stakelek looking to make a move ahead of Ika Baena as Cameron Dowd goes up the inside and takes Ika Baena down to P18.
Adams looking for it as well, a driver who's been competitive in F3 this season as well. Now for FRT trying to fight a way through on Ika Baena, and just up ahead as well with side-by-side Jack West and Cameron Dowd continuing their battle and just getting ahead and squeezing his rival out. That's late on the brakes. Jack West making contact. He was battling up against Dowd and then ends up going into the side momentarily of Renz Tomasson. We expected it to be a brawl around this circuit, and it absolutely is. Fanzelter just ahead of Modler as we get down into turn number 10, but but the action is behind as we go through this tight part of the circuit, and Cameron Dowd's just trying to keep it pointing in the right direction with how tight it was getting.
He sent a late send there onto Jack West into turn 10. I didn't think he would actually go for it, but he did. But I think that was more of a retaliation to what Jack West tried into turn 8 when he just banzaied it up the inside, and somehow kind of made it work. He did keep Cameron Dowds behind him, and that is his main task, I think, at this current moment. As we head up in towards turn number 5 and 6. So a very good start for many drivers. Declan Barrett up to P4, a very good start for him for FVR, and of course Renz Thomason making a start off the line. He sits P13 now, ahead of both of the Alpines, and that is not what they want. P14 and 15, when realistically they should be comfortably into that top 10. As further ahead, well, Lewis actually nearly taken his teammate out at turn number 8, and that allows Dylan Warren to try and sniff out an opportunity to move up into 8th himself and split the two R8G cars. Into turn 10 they go, and no move to avail there for Dylan Warren, stays in 9th place. And further ahead there, we do have Declan Barrett really closing in on Riccardo Penzoni, but he's not close enough there to get a move as they head into the first couple of corners. But give it a lap or two, he could definitely be looking to try and get into P3 here.
Absolutely, it was a very punchy start, as I mentioned, for Dylan Warren, and he got going as well. And it's been quite close as all of the drivers try to follow closely. It's very clear that Warren wants to try and find an overtake. Barrett, who's moved up 3 places from where he started the race, on the back and basically pushing Benzoni through the corners, and diving to the inside as well is Barrett. Is he going to get the room? Better line will belong to Benzoni. Position will still belong to Benzoni. He's going to keep it ahead, but that was an attempted move by Barrett, still remaining in P4 at the moment. Meanwhile, Warren getting closer and closer and forcing the RAG driver to go on the defensive.
Indeed, so no move being made there for Declan Barrett. And then further back here, we do see Dylan Warren coming under pressure here from Florian Van Zelter. I did notice that gap there for Dylan came down quite quickly and then shot back up again, so I think Dylan might have outbroke himself in towards turn number 8. As Renz Thomason in the pit lane, an early stop here for FVR, looking to try something a little bit different here at the start of this race, and that confirms to me that the 2-stop is a viable strategy, and we'll see many teams go for it as we make our way through this first sector lap 5:36, when the top 4 has been the same for, I think, the last 4 laps. No moves being made at all near the top of the timings, as we do see Piotr Stasler out there having a battle with Jack West, and no move being made there by Jack, but that does allow Cameron to close in once again. I'm sure he's going to go for a move. Of course he is. These two have got a bit of a personal aggressive battle, I think, going on since lap 1.
Really are. They really are having quite that fight at the moment. West just ahead of Cameron Dowds, who is looking to the outside line as West covers the middle of the road. Dowds will try get it rotated, no way through there, and then it's about getting your foot down, seeing whether you've got the battery to contend, but all the while you battle, you've got Campbell Adams, who will be waiting and looking for his chance to capitalize. Okay, Barrett was following Benzoni quite closely for a while. He's coming to the pit lane, another driver attempting the same strategy as what we saw with Renz Thomason. So that is both FVR drivers doing the exact same thing, going early and being the first ones to blink.
Indeed, and still our race leader, Szymon Lekomski, of course, took pole at the end of Q3, the last lap to be set, and it was the quickest lap. And now sits in a very good position ahead of Sergio Sobrino, who also brought out a brilliant lap at the end of Q3. Both McLaren and Veloce Academy near the bottom of the standings, P7 and P8. They both sit, so a P1 and a P2 for both of those teams would be absolutely perfect. As we head back down towards turn 8, once again a lock up there on the front left for Lekomski as they all make it through. And then of course we do see the 2 FVRs. Remember, Thomason was P14 when he pitted, Declan Barrett was P4, and they are 8/10 apart, so the undercut must work wonders around this circuit. So that's something there the teams should be keeping an eye on, as nobody chooses to pit on lap 6. Have FVR possibly called it a little bit too early here? Because normally, once 1 or 2 pit, everybody else comes in, but nobody budges on lap 6.
Absolutely, and that would be a complete ruiner for them, especially Barrett was looking so well in those early stages. You can definitely tell he was on the attack, and they were planning at FVR to do this with how he was on the punchy side with his driving as well, using absolutely everything he could off that tyre as well before he decided to come in to the pit lane. The rest of them continue to navigate their way through at the moment. Engel under a little bit of pressure, but other than that, they're all maintaining single file as they get into a bit of a rhythm after that, have to say, quite frenetic start that we had for the first few laps, which I think we were always going to get as well with this new circuit and a bit of an unknown for the drivers. They were all following closely and all looking for every single overtaking opportunity there was.
They certainly was indeed, and well, at the moment the battles have started to calm down as we do see Jack West bail early as well, end of lap 7. Into the pits for West. So also, we'll see where he comes out compared to Declan and Rennes. So let's go on board here with Jack. New hard tyres for him, of course expected, and the FBRs just fly past him.
Indeed, but it's
What's the gap going to be?
That will be the interesting thing, the gap, as he rejoins the road in a few seconds.
Oh my. Oh, that is a big gap indeed. But what, 6 seconds? Oh my. Oh, who's off the road? It's Liam Parnell. Parnell off the road at turn number 4. Not ideal for him. A big shame for Liam Parnell in this race. I think that's confirmed. He'll probably finish last because he is 5 seconds behind 16th and only 2 seconds ahead of Barrett and Thomas. And now, is it his turn to try and hold the 3 of them up, well, 2 of them up because Jack West is 7 seconds back. As Zildrim goes into the pits. Now, is this tactical?
That's the question as well. Here we go then. Zildrim's in, so is Dowd, so is Campbell Adams. Adams and Dowd's both running together. Of course, the 2 drivers who started from the back in 19th and 20th. Due to going late when it came to that Q1 session, a lap too late it was, unfortunately, for them, as we're getting ready now to rejoin as well their circuit and continue with these drivers. But yeah, quite major gaps at the moment as the F3R drivers look to try control things. 4.1 seconds as Zildrim rejoins, and then a further 3 down to Jack West, and it's Dowd and Adams.
Indeed, and here is Liam Parnell, of course, just ahead of Declan Barrett. Now, I mean, it would make sense for him to hold up these 2 because Ulash Zildrim, he's 4 seconds back. I mean, he should bring that gap down, but, you know, he doesn't want to have to work so hard for it. He kind of wants it gifted to him on a plate. As we head in towards turn 8, Barrett, of course, will be looking to try and pounce as quickly as possible, get past Liam Parnell as soon as we do see Sabrino into the pit lane for Veloci Academy from P2 in this race. He also goes for a bit of an early stop here in this one. Into turn 10 we go. And Parnell still sitting ahead of Declan Barrett. Barrett here will be looking to get on the charge. Parnell moving around. He'll be looking to try and defend this one into turn 1. Barrett goes up the inside. Parnell didn't see him coming off the track. Goes Liam Parnell. And through goes Declan Barrett.
Wow, extraordinary fighting going on as they were racing their way by, and they will continue to make their way through, but it was getting really punchy between those 2 drivers, and this contact, and Parnell's off.
Oh no. Don't collect your teammate, Liam! Oh dear me, that was nearly Ulash Zildrim into his teammate. Oh, and he's off again. Not ideal here for Liam Parnell at all. And now Jack West. Oh no. Oh no. This is not going to end well between these 2. Oh, he lets him through. Thank the Lord, Liam, because I did not want to see Jack West pole drive someone into turn number 8. But we continue on, Omi. You've had 12 cars stay out. We've had 7 cars head into the pit lane.
Have indeed. It has been, well, quite the interesting first few laps when it's come to strategy, when it has come as well to the racing, as the top 2 now try and pull the 1 second gap to the Williams driver in P3 as well at the moment of Koivunen as well. So it's getting very, very feisty out there on the circuit between the drivers, as we have seen some pit stops as they now battle over that track position as well. But you've got the F3Rs who are net leading the way in that train due to going earlier on, but they are getting Sergio Sabrino arriving to the back of them very shortly.
Indeed, as here we do see both of the FVR cars, Declan Barrett and Rens Thomason, as they head their way into turn 8, and I think it was Cameron Dowds there just dispatching Liam Parnell, and the same will go for Campbell Adams. Can't get a better camera angle than that one as we head through, and there we go into 19th for Campbell. Liam Parnell pretty much out of this race, unfortunately. Big shame for Liam, but we continue on. We're now just over a third of the way through the race, and still it's Lekomsky in the lead ahead of Benzoni and Koivunen in P3. Of course, that being McLaren, Ferrari, then Williams, and the two R8Gs, P4 and 5, followed by the second Ferrari of Dylan Warren in P6, and then Florian Van Zelter, who I've got to say has done an outstanding job for FRT this evening.
Really has indeed. It has been great to watch and great to see all of those performances come in, and every single round we're getting some shining performances on drivers and teams in specific. Barrett doing well and continuing to as well from last round into this round. Lap 12 out of 36 at the moment.
Indeed, and of course Alpine now, they're sitting P10 and 11, so they kind of need this one stop to work over the two stop, otherwise they could be in a spot of bother. And Ryan Modeler into the pits on lap 12 of this race. Now he's going to have to go for a two stop here, I think, being as the fact he's got to take these tyres 23 laps if not, and that's a bit, it's quite a large offset he's going to have here, but look how far back he's going to come out compared to Declan. It's going to be such a big gap here. He's going to need a lot of pace in that VNT car. I mean, he's going to come out close to Liam Parnell. So what's that gap going to be? About 7-8 seconds here, so a lot of pace needed here for Ryan, but if he's got the pace in the car, why not let him go for it?
Yeah, it's about the driver confidence as well in terms of what he can manage, and if he does have that, then there is no reason why to not let him loose on this circuit as well and get him to go on the attack. Going a little bit different at the moment as well as this race continues to take place, with the R8G drivers running closely together at the moment as well, and they're directly behind them. Pit stops coming into play. Warren, along with Engel and Thomas Porchades, has also entered the pit lane. So those three find themselves coming in, and they prepare now for the change of the tyres.
As we continue our way on. So 3 more cars onto new tyres, and that means 8 are still running on that medium tyre. The rest of them are onto either used or new hards as we continue our way on. And of course Will Lewis as well, doing a great job for R8G. Of course, first race for him in this championship, and first race I believe on a whole for R8G. And of course he's accompanied by one of the most experienced drivers, Tiger Hardy. He's been here for a very long time and has drove a lot of races in this championship. As all what's happened there, oh, and that's going to be Ikebana into the barriers. Got collided with 2 cars as they headed out of turn 7, and unfortunately got speared into the wall.
Wow, absolutely dramatic stuff. Meanwhile, Lekomsky nearly dropping it into the pit wall as he comes in. It was so tight between first and second place. Benzoni was thinking about the overtake before they came into the pit lane, and Lekomsky went very deep in, so that's a dramatic few moments here in E-Series.
It certainly is. That was a scary moment there, and a big shame for Williams and for Ika. Into turn 1 we go. Azildrim ahead of Rens Thomason up into P3. Of course, the last time we saw those 2 cars at turn 1, it was one of them being pushed off. This time, they both made it through. As we head our way through the end of Sector 1, lap 15 of 36, nearly halfway through this race we are. And we can see, look at the gaps. If we could put gap to leader, there's around, 13 seconds between Declan Barrett and Piotr Stakelek. So, there's going to be a big offset for some of these drivers and lots of moves to be made.
Will be indeed. Talking about moves, Tomasin thinking about it on Sabrino, as well as Sabrino navigates his way by, as Tomasin now loses that crack position as well, as they continue their scrap out on the circuit. Will Lewis now comes into the pit lane at the moment, as he is now one of the last few drivers, along with Parnell, who are still yet to make a pit stop in this one.
Indeed, and as we Look at the gaps. There we go. So Will Lewis is in the pit lane. Let's see whereabouts he comes out. I think it'll be probably around... I think he might just get ahead of Tomasz Paradzic there. He'll come out in P17 in this race as he makes his way out of the pit lane. Back up the hill towards turn number 2 he goes. Oh, that was close. Oh, my. How he didn't take out Engel or how Engel didn't take out Lewis, I don't have a clue. Or at least on this camera angle, it looked close. Very close indeed. As we are all making our way through now, everybody has been into the pit lane. Liam Parnell, the last one to pit. And I think for most cars, it'll be another pit stop. Some of them might try and edge it out to the end of the race. But our top 2, Barrett and Azildrim, of course, 2 former teammates. And, well, they're 2 enemies and rivals now in this championship.
They are, and they're switching positions as Azildrim makes a nice and easy move as well with the DRS. And we'll head into turn number 10 as the race leader. Further back there, that's going to be Dylan Warren, who was fighting away with it with Modler. Similar story in terms of just able to use that rear wing to his advantage and to be able to take that position as they come over the line then. As meanwhile Barrett losing another place, and this time it's Sabrino going through.
Indeed, so this overcut here is working for the likes of Azildrin, Sabrino, and then I presume for all of those behind as well, who were looking to make moves. And it just shows, look how this has worked for Adams. Was 19th, now 5th. Dowes was, I think, 20th at one point, now 7th. And Jack West as well is up into the top 6. So this has worked for many of the drivers on the grid at the moment. And the gap between Campbell and Renz is 1.6 seconds. The gap between Campbell and Declan is like, what, 2? And before they pitted, the gap was around probably 6 or 7. So this has really worked for those near the back, going for that later pit stop here. So I am starting to think, was it too early here for FVR? Because they're now starting to struggle, aren't they, a little bit?
They are indeed. They are starting to struggle, as you mentioned. So we'll keep an eye on drivers like Adam, who will be closing in, especially the ones like Dylan Warren and everyone underneath that, who've even got even more fresher tyres to try utilise to their advantage as well as we reach half race distance. That has been quite a quick first half of the race, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been an interesting one, I think it's safe to say. We've had many things happen, and it's all been under dry circumstances. I mean, imagine what it would have been if it was wet. So I suppose we can count ourselves lucky here as we are 18 laps in of this 36 lap race, and our top 2 is Ulas Azildrim and Sergio Sabrino. And then, of course, our pole sitter, Lekomsky, is down in P10. But, of course, he went for a very late pit stop compared to some of those up into the top 9. So, over the course of the next few laps, I presume he'll just make a few positions here and there. And, of course, use Jack West if he needs to.
Jack West into the back of Campbell Adams there. So that's contact between the drivers that are in 5th and 6th. And now Jack West is going to try and make the move. Or Cameron Dowds was there to capitalise. So the 2 drivers who made a bit of contact heading into the braking zone on turn number 8 now switch places. And West moves up to P5.
He certainly does. And of course Campbell Adams now is in the middle of these two as we head into turn number 1. I'd not want to be Campbell, that's safe to say. Cameron behind and Jack West ahead. That's a very interesting battle around you. And then, of course, Dylan Warren, on those newer hard tyres, has shot up to the rear of our top 7. And give it a lap or 2, he'll probably be ahead of at least 3 of these cars as we make our way through. Out of turn number 4 and 5, in towards 6 and 7. Now, does Dylan Warren go for the send? No. But he should have enough pace on the exit to pull alongside Cameron Dowds and look to get the move done as Cameron moves over and Neely taking Dylan Warren with him as we head down towards turn number 8. Up the inside goes Warren and up into P7 goes Warren. Next on his list is Campbell Adams. Should be another simple move. It needs to be a simple move here because look at the gap to Renz Thomason. It's now starting to increase between himself and Jack West.
You want to get through these cars as soon as possible. That's exactly what Warren is doing, passing at every single opportunity there is, but also try and do so the cleanest way possible and hope that your rival does not come into the side of you, because it's getting really close as well. The last thing you want is to be getting involved and possibly getting some damage in a race that isn't really even your battle at the moment. That's how much grip, that's how much purchase of the corners that you've got. And it's getting really tight further back, as that is going to be a great battle that was that heated over there. Lukumski up against Modler. Now Benzoni is there to capitalize as well in the Ferrari as he tries to navigate his way by. They are basically banging wheels at the moment as Benzoni tries to keep his foot in all the way around the outside. Can he get the grip off the corner? It looks like he will. With a bit of battery usage, he will be ahead of Modler, but that was so close to major contact.
It certainly was, and I think that was Shimon's way of saying move, I think, and he got the move done, and Cameron Downs gives him the same back through turn 8. They head side by side down to turn 10. Is Cameron going to back out? I don't think he will, you know. I think he's going to try and stick it side by side. Never mind. Cameron, you should have gone for a move. Make it interesting. In the pits we go for Jack West and Renz Thomason. They're bailing early once again in this race, and they're just hoping that they have an offset once everybody else pits. No, sorry. They're hoping that they can push forward because they'll have an offset now, but then when everybody else gets an offset later on, they've got enough of a gap and enough track position that they can just hold where they are until the end. I didn't say it right, but you know what I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. if they can do that, if they can do somewhere around that, they should be good if it does go to plan. But so many things have gone wrong at the same time, but they'll hope that this one goes right. Okay, Benzoni's now on the back of Cameron Downs. He's already had a close call at the moment. Let's hope this one is going to be a little bit more simpler. Downs is going to keep his foot in though, and it's going to be getting super tight as they will navigate their way through. Benzoni sent over the curb. Now it's a drag race between the two drivers, and it is going to be Ferrari just arriving on top as we see the top three come into the pit lane.
There we are, and also Cameron Downs is into bits, and Sergio Sobrino! It's a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. What a shame for Sergio Sobrino. Qualified second, was running up into that top two, and probably has a 100% chance of a podium. But that's gone, because he's received a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. But on this occasion, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. That pit lane looks just lethal. I do not want to be heading into that pit lane myself, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this one.
Yeah, I haven't decided to try it out either, even without any cameras as well. It's definitely a scary thought heading down in there, and I think it's a scary thought anyway, just driving around a circuit that you're so used to seeing being driven the right way round.
Oh, and that's a Will Lewis move. Brexit overtake indeed. Past Ryan Modler, past Simon Engel goes Will Lewis into P8 for R8G. Now, I've got to say, Omi, in this race we've seen a lot of argy-bargy, haven't we, between many drivers, and many of them, you kind of see them doing the same thing to the same person 2 or 3 times. So I think we've got some personal vendettas being made in this race.
Absolutely. There's lots of them who are not going to be as good friends as they maybe were as well earlier on. I think it is fair to say with how this race is going, and still a long way to go, still a lot to happen, and still lots of different races are to still clash in terms of you have some drivers at different phases in terms of their tyre stints, in terms of grip. You are going to see more of those moments because they're all battling up against each other while also then trying to pass slightly slower cars at that moment in the contest as well. Lap number 23 out of 36. That's the moment as we continue to make our way through. Fanzelter trying to get close to see whether he can make an overtake on Engel. Engel's just going to keep the position. Fanzelter just looming all over the rear wing at the moment of that Haas car directly ahead as he tries to see whether he can force his rival into an error.
Indeed, that's all what it's about at this point. Force drivers into error because it's very difficult to make overtakes. So you've just got to try and force people into mistakes. And I mean, it's happened a few times this evening. I think some of them are also mistakes through contact as well, which is not what we like in the rule book. But I love it personally. I mean, the more chaos, the more killing we get is better for me because it gives me something to shout about. So, you know, morally, I shouldn't like it, but I do. Of course I do. As here goes Sergio Sobrino on the back. Tomasz Prajic looking to go around the outside into turn 4. Gets the move done. into P12 for Sabrino, but of course that penalty means he's probably going to finish outside the top 10 anyway. I don't think he's got any chance of a top 10 here as Sabrino. And here we have Piotr Staklek, of course, on the back of Florian Van Zelter, looking to push forward, as we do see Declan Barrett get ahead of Tomasz, and next will be Rens Thomason looking to get ahead of Tomasz, and then give it a lap or two. Jack West will be having his turn.
Absolutely. Maybe even in a few meters time. If he deploys a bit of battery as well down this straight, could have a great opportunity down towards turn number 10. Will be probably even before we hit the anchors for turn 10, because he's absolutely sailed by, and then even shuts a bit of the DRS. Just the DRS on purpose momentarily, and then flicks it open and flicks it off, as well as he was able to take that position. So yeah, there's quite a lot. There is quite a lot going on between the drivers at the moment. Quite a lot of fun and games out there on the circuit. But to be fair, when we put them around this when we put them around a circuit like this in reverse as well, it was always going to cause a bit of fun between them all while they race to this competitive level.
Exactly. It's been an interesting race, and I love it because I think most of the time, Omi, once we get to a certain part of the race, we always kind of have an idea and a bit of knowledge of what's coming next, because we kind of see the same tracks over and over again. Here, we just have to guess what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to come next, so that makes it more interesting for us and also for the viewers in the chat. And, well, Jake Benham seems very interested into this race. That's all I keep seeing when I look over at the track. Jake Benham, Jake Benham, Jake Benham. I think he's rather interested in this one. That's safe to say. But it's a shame that he's, well, I was going to say his team's not doing well, but only one driver isn't, unfortunately, and that's Jack West. But with the hope and with the pace that he normally has, I think he'll easily be in the top 10 here with these 4-lap-old tyres.
Absolutely, as they continue making their way through as well. And yeah, we have Connor saying Jake loves his PSGL since joining McLaren as well.
Oh, dear me.
Brilliant stuff as we continue the race, and we continue to see these strategies reach as well. Will Lewis getting a little bit impatient on the back of Modler. Let's see whether he will be looking soon to try and forge away by. A bit of battery usage, I'm sure, because of course the DRS will also belong to Modler ahead. Then we'll see what happens into the braking zone. He'll still be tucking in behind, and then if there's anything into turn 10, if you can get a good exit, which it does look like he has got a good exit, so this could possibly be an opportunity if he has the battery to use to try and make this move. But it looks like Modler just pulling away a little bit to safety there, in terms of he will be able to keep that position there.
Indeed, as we head our way out of the final corner once again. Lap 27 of 36 is underway, and we've now got 9 laps to go, and I'm convinced that our top, well, everybody, I think everybody now will stay out. The top 10, I don't think they're going to pit. It's too late to, and 11th down, they've already made their pit stop. So it's all about how quickly can Ulash Zildrim, Sergio Sabrino, Declan Barrett, etc. move their way through the field, because they've got a lot of work to do. But the only thing that will help them is the fact that everybody ahead of them has dead tyres compared to them. I mean, Ulash is 5 laps old. Everybody ahead is either 11, 12 or 13 lap old tyres. So Ulash has just got to push, and probably do a few Jack West and Cameron Downs of his own here, I think, to make moves. It's not going to be easy, because we know this game, for some reason, doesn't promote racing. It promotes staying in a train and going to the end like that. Pretty much.
Yeah. What a contrast compared to what we had last game as well. We were trying to catch a deep breath on last game, and then we've got too many opportunities on this game. I have to say, these drivers though have given us some interesting race across today though. They've definitely entertained us. Lap 28 out of 36, about to head into the final stages for proper, and that is where it gets interesting, because the Zildrim is arriving onto the back of Stakulek, who is directly ahead at the moment, and then this whole train of cars to pass for those drivers who are coming. And Sabrino, as we mentioned, 10-second time penalty going to hurt his race completely and ruin any chance that he has, as he's going to bolt and the order when they come across the line with how close the finish will be.
Indeed, and of course here is Ulash. His gap now is around 5 tenths here to Piotr, and it's going to go even shorter, 2 tenths. As we head down to turn 8. Is there going to be a move this occasion? No, there's not. It will have to be made down to the final corner. If not, risk it for turn 1, because he's going to end up being caught up behind Piotr as we head down to turn number 10. He's not burning the battery. He's happy staying where he is for now, but of course we'll be preparing to make a move soon. Out to the final corner. Doesn't get the best exits, and we'll have to set it up all again.
That'll be exactly the case. We'll need to try set this one up as they will navigate their way around turn number 2. Will Uzildrim, as he now looks to really close in. It'll probably be a move in a few meters time. I don't think he'll be waiting all the while. He'll definitely be thinking about a lunge even before possibly we get down to the straights, if he can get close enough. But if not, then it'll definitely be full out attack and the straights, using some of that battery to try and make the move. And there we go. As I mentioned, it is going to be a dive bomb as well, so he is going to send it up the inside. Bit of contact as he tries to stand on the power. Meanwhile, Declan Barrett is side by side with Sergio Sabrino as he tries to take track position at the moment.
Indeed, and we can see there a lock-up from Sergio and up the inside of Piot. Nearly locked the Riz, but instead just went straight on and used Piot as a brake marker down towards turn number 8. And, well, that could have ended very badly there for those two, but luckily they all make it through in single file. And Azildrim got the move done into P10 for the Red Bull driver. Next on his list is Florian van Zelter as we head back into turn 1. And, you know, like I've said, oh, that was a big slide. He did that last lap. He's done it again. Oh, my. Ulash Azildrim. It's like he's driving the actual Red Bull. There's no grip, and he loses another position. He's pushing a little bit too hard, I fear, Omi.
Yeah, he was really going for it, and he could tell it once and he could tell it twice, as he was absolutely on the attack and then some. And this is the moment where we told you this race would come down to, where it would all start to boil over as they try and make some overtakes. That's Stauchulek, he's got past West, and you've got Tomasin there waiting for his opportunity to try and make a move as well. Here's Sabrina now diving to the inside of Van Zelter, trying to get it all sorted into the braking zone. Van Zelter doesn't want to give it up, and then Azildrim's going to be there to capitalize. Further back, Tomasin has got a 3-second time penalty.
He certainly has. He must have run a little bit too wide out of turn number 3. Sorry, not turn number 3, turn number 8. And unfortunately, that's going to really harm his race. P17 it would be at the moment for Rens Thomason with that penalty. As we head our way back down to turn 1, lap 31 or 36. And, I mean, yeah, it's just not working, is it, Frulash? He's got better pace, but the dirty air, he just can't make a move. And he's stuck behind, or Sergio, I should say, stuck behind Simon Engels. So, GG's to Ferrari, R8G and VNT, because it's going to be so hard for anybody to make a move, as Piot's had a spin, I think, heading through out of turn number 4. And that's going to harm his race even more. And Alpine, they have had a stinker. It's like watching the real team.
Yeah, unfortunately, not gone to plan for Alpine this time around. They, of course, got a good result last time with 4th, with at least one car, the other one in 15th. Still, they had something to celebrate about. Not the exact case this time around. Still, you know, looks to get past Engel. Engel doing enough for the moment, and yeah, they've got stuck in this, and it is hard to try forge your way by. There will be some desperate attempts, I think. Well, Sabrino anyway knows his race is going to come undone, but it's Azildrim and those drivers behind who were the ones who would have definitely been hoping to capitalize, to absolutely go on the attack all the way to a good result by the end of today. But the traffic definitely proving to be quite difficult for them.
Indeed, yeah. No moves can be made in the traffic, unfortunately. It just shows the state of the game, and I think this is a perfect example. You've got an 8-lap offset there, Sergio, as he also does the same as what Ulash was doing. Slide, slide, slide. But they've got an 8-lap offset, and they can't get past the car ahead. And without being mean, pace-wise, Ulash is going to be a lot quicker anyway than the 2 VNT cars. So it just shows how poor the game is. I mean, I don't want to go on a rant, but I'm going to have to, because it's not good for us. A 2-stop, when you've got that much of an offset, should actually end in some battling, not in cars being stuck behind each other, when the car behind is a lot quicker. So that's why we're seeing drivers stick their elbows out, because they've got to. They've got no choice when looking to make a move. But we go back down to turn 1 once again. Lap 33 and 36. And Dylan Warren and Riccardo Benzoni, what a race it has been. And whoever is engineering over at Ferrari, tap on the back.
Oh, Zildrim spun!
Oh, dear me. I mean, I think it was coming. The last 3 laps of that corner, he does the same thing. overturns it. And Omi, I mean, why are they struggling so much on those tyres? That's my question.
Well, yeah, that time around he was trying to get past Engel, but yeah, when he momentarily lost, he just had no grip to keep it then in the straight line. So it was a combination of contact, yes, and then getting impatient, which you would expect him because he's on a two-stop strategy and he's stuck. He's stuck, he can't do anything as well. And now Barrett is trying to make the move on Sabrina. Meanwhile, they're left battling amongst themselves at the moment with how this one's going. Still, no one can get past Engel and Modler, the teammates that are directly ahead of them. That is the situation we find themselves in. Vest using all the battery in the world to close in, but can't do anything with it as he's still behind Sabrina.
That was a close one there. Cameron Dowds on the back of Florian van Zelter, who was also on the back of Rens Thomason. A move being made here by Florian, and Cameron should also do the same thing. Into turn one they go, and Rens Thomason down to P15. Not being a good race for him. It's been better for Declan Barrett, but considering his pace in qualifying, I would have expected him to be a lot higher. And if he was on the right strategy, he certainly would have been. But it's just... Oh, Jack West. No, Jack West. I mean, what is it with these tyres? Sergio, tank slappers everywhere. Azildrin spun. Jack West has spun. I mean, at this point, Omi, why did they even think about the two-stop? Did they not practice it when they was doing their practice, I think, at this point? Because it's just failed, hasn't it, for motor drivers?
It has. And once again, that was Sabrina and West battling, and it all coming to blows. As meanwhile, Sabrina gets a 3-second time penalty on top of that. Already what he had, the 10 seconds. Ian is just coming to the pit lane to put on a set of soft compound tyres and end this race. But, well, we had Ferrari finishing first and third at Spa 1 week ago, and they're still in those positions. First and third again, so it will be the same result for them if they can get to the checkered flag in this way. 2 races in a row.
Indeed, would be great for Ferrari to take another double podium in this race, in this championship, I should say. And Cameron Dowds has definitely worked his way back up, hasn't he? Started 19th due to a bit of a fault in qualifying, and he's now up to P12. Not that far away from a top 10 spot. Because of the penalty for Sabrina, he'll jump up to P11. So... a great drive here by Cameron Dowds, and the same goes for Campbell Adams. Started right at the back and now sits P11. He'll be promoted into the top 10 as Declan Barrett makes a move. And it seems he's the only one that can. He's up into P7 in this race. Next on his list is Will Lewis, but that's going to be a task because it's taken him how many laps to get past the 2 VNTs. Next is the 2 R8Gs as we shortly head on to the final lap of the race. And this is where things get interesting because Dylan Warren's actually got to think about the car behind now. And also, Riccardo Benzoni is on the back of Lekomsky.
Absolutely. Final lap of the race. Benzoni forcing Lekomsky to go on the defensive. All out of shape for Lekomsky. Can Benzoni find a way through?
No, he can't, and it's into P2 still for Szymon Lekomsky. No move for Benzoni, went for it and backed out. I think he was a little bit scared of tapping the back of Lekomsky through turn number 2 as we make our way through turns 4 and 5. Back down towards turn 6 and 7 we go once again, and Warren, I think, has got this one wrapped under his belt. And I think the same goes for Lekomsky and Benzoni on that podium spot as we head down towards turn 8. Can Topius do anything? No, and I don't think Toka Hardy can do anything either. He's not going to risk it. There's no point risking it as you're heading towards turn number 8 and further back there. I think it was Barrett there also looking for an opportunity. But what a race it has been here for Ferrari. First and third in Spa. It's the same here in Austria, and it will be a win for Warren. Dylan Warren wins the Austrian Grand Prix for Ferrari. Lekomsky comes home in second for McLaren, and Riccardo Benzoni comes home in third for Ferrari. A brilliant race indeed for the prancing horses, and also for the Papaya to finish in P2. And then also a brilliant race for Koivunen in Williams, and a top 5 and a top 6 for R8G. I don't think they're going to be too upset with that one there.
Yeah, they will be quite satisfied after not the most ideal round 1 week ago for R8G. Finally, a good result once again. They came into last weekend in the championship lead, and then it went to Ferrari. And while Ferrari will extend that lead, still a good result. Keeps them in the running, and a consistent result they would have wanted. But the one stop has done its job, and it has come out be the strategy to be on by a mile.
It certainly was. I don't think they're going to do this strategy again at this track, or at least in the reversed one, because that was a bit of a ball fest at the end, I think. Nothing much happened near the end of that one, but we can see the full race result. It was Warren who won ahead of Lekomsky, and then Benzoni in the top 3. That's going to extend Ferrari's championship lead by a few more points. I think it's safe to say. Then we have Williams, Fotopius, Koivunen in P4 ahead of the 2 R8Gs. Then we have Declan Barrett, a great charge up at the end for him to finish ahead of Ryan Mulder in P8. Campbell Adams 9th and Simon Engel the top 10. Brilliant result for VNT. Both cars up into the top 10. I think I jinxed them earlier in a good way. I said they haven't had a top 10. They've now got 2 in one race. Next will be Cameron Dades in P11 after starting last ahead of Florian Fanzelter. Ulash Ildrim in 13th after a poor final couple of laps. Rens Thomason in 14th ahead of Jack West, Piotr Strakalek, Sergio Sobrino, Tomasz Paradzic, Liam Parnell, and then Ika Baena. There we go, Omi. What a race that was.
Absolutely fantastic. Delivered from start to finish, and that's what we love about the E-Series. It absolutely produced some amazing racing action, produced an amazing ending to qualifying as well. I think we have to be quite satisfied from what we have got to see. That was exactly what we were after, and we mentioned it was going to be an unknown, and it absolutely was an unknown as well. And that's what we love about this type of racing. So that was absolutely fantastic.
Indeed, and hopefully we're going to get a couple of drivers in for a quick chat after that one. Of course, our top 3, Dylan Warren, Shimon Lekomsky and Riccardo Benzoni. So if anybody from their teams is in the chat, just give them a nudge, let them know they can jump into the waiting room for a quick interview. Because, of course, that was, I mean, for those 3, quite boring after the first 10 laps because they didn't have to do much after they pitted. But it's, I suppose it always feels great when you're winning, doesn't it? Even if you're doing nothing.
It might be a bit of boredom for a bit of it. There's probably jokes being sent around between themselves and the engineers at the time, but get to the checkered flag. It's all worth it at the end of that moment.
Indeed. We do have Dylan Warren in the interview room, so we'll drag him in. Dylan, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Perfect. So, first race this season here in E-Series, and it's a win. Great race indeed. Strategy-wise, I think Ferrari cooked definitely. P1 and P3. I mean, was you ever thinking about the 2-stop at any point in that one?
No, not after the first few laps. Like, it was always a consideration because we saw the other way around Austria, how that works, and the tyre was pretty similar. It's just a bit easier to save tyres in the reverse track.
Yep.
So it sort of made the decision also a bit easier, especially when we saw how early FVR pit, lap 4 and 5. So we knew the pace of the front train wouldn't be as quick as maybe it would be in another race. So
indeed,
yeah,
and of course, we know on this game that the tyre wear is considerably higher than 24. So was you near that puncture range near the end of that one, or was it just because you saved the tyres you was quite safe to the end?
I think I was in it going into the last corner. Like, I was 79 or something going out of turn 4. But yeah, we were sort of, I was projected 92, and then we just saved tyre because we knew everyone else behind would as well. And obviously there was some concern over the 2 stoppers, but then they just stagnated at the back of the train because we knew how many cars there were. So I saved enough to not get a puncture. I imagine Lekomsky saved as well. I imagine Benzoni definitely saved. He had a lot less tyre wear than I did. I'm sure the same will go for the rest of the train as well. But yeah, it was just a matter of saving the tyre, making sure I don't get a puncture, really.
Indeed, and I know normally you say that you've not got any pace and you're slow, but going into this one, did you think you had any pace today?
I saw not in the qualifying, not for the. If it was a dry qualifying, definitely not. And then I started, like I said before the race, if there is a god, it's gonna rain. And then Benzoni's like, no. And then it was a dry start, and then it got wet. So I was quick Q2, and then Q3 I invalidated my last lap, and then drove onto the gravel anyway. So the lap would have been P3 probably, but generally no. But the race pace was always good because that's what I prepare for most. So
indeed, and
yeah,
worked
that's what I
hard.
enjoyed.
Worked out in the end heavily. Of course, Riccardo's well in P3. Great work between you two. And do you think we'll see much of you for the rest of the season? Because I think this is your first race, isn't it, for E-Series this season?
It is my first race, but I'm also going on holiday in 6 days, so not yet. I probably will be back though, because I imagine there's more tracks that no one wants to do. So I'll be back for those most likely. But yeah, not too bad.
And a quick message from Connor saying, a word for your fans.
word from my fans. I just want to thank all of them, especially Connor. He's supported me for a long, long time. Everyone in Ferrari, I want to thank them. Oscar King made that strategy, as per usual, since Yona's not here, unfortunately. But yeah, we have a great team, great drivers. I want to thank Benzoni for putting pressure on the last lap, so I had a 7/10 gap going into sector 2. Yeah, great team effort. Thank you to everyone that was supporting. And yeah, it was a good race.
There we go. And I mean, you've done Yona there because people were saying, oh, Yona's cooked to the strat, and he didn't say anything. So we was thinking, people think I've done it, but it turns out it wasn't Yona anyway. But Dylan...
I mean, he's always involved, so he's always got his say, he's always helping, so yeah, of course.
Indeed. Great to see. Great work from yourself as a team tonight, and hopefully we'll see you and the team back up the top in the next couple of rounds. Thank you, mate, for joining. Have a good one.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
And there we go, Omi. Unfortunately, we've got nobody else in the room. And I was going to say, I said to Omi tonight, and I'll say this on here, I said, for the interviews, we'll do an interview each. I'll do one, he does one, then I'll do the last one. Just so we get a full interview each. We got one, so he never got to do one. So, Omi, next time, you've locked yourself in an interview at the end of the race.
Yeah, you now owe me one. Oh, how dark has it got? Well, the time went very quick. I need to open a light now. There we go.
Oh, but there we go. I mean, what a race that was. Brilliant vibes tonight as well. Great to see everybody in the chat. Omi, thanks for joining me. It's been a pleasure, as always, to be alongside you in the commentary box. And, of course, guys, remember, there's a break week next week for E-Series. I don't know if it's the same for the normal tiers, and I'm just going to say I don't know, because I don't want to lie and say something. But all I know is E-Series isn't here next week. We'll be back the week after as we head off to Miami, off to the States for round number 6 of the championship. And once again, Ferrari and R8G will probably be sitting at the top of the standings. So, of course, make sure to keep yourself tuned in over on Twitter and Discord for all the information that you need. And, of course, give us a subscribe and a like over on YouTube. A big thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. Omi, any last words from you before we head off?
Well, like I said last time, it's such a competitive season. It is so great to see these teams all competing. It's so competitive, and it's going to be fun all the way till the end.
Indeed. And on that note, guys, have a good evening. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for round 6. Good night.